Welcome, seekers of the truth, to the Magical Services channel. So this is going to be a most supreme horoscope for the general collective with accents on love and career for the time span that is between April 24th to the 25th of this year of 2026. So for all intents and purposes, we will call it April 24th, 2026. With all that said, um, collective, let's get into your horoscope. So across this 24-hour window, the collective field is operating under a tightening first quarter lunar phase, pushing systems from intention into pressure-tested execution. This is not abstract momentum. It is a structural demand for decision, refinement, and visible output. The emotional tone is no longer exploratory. It is corrective. What was initiated earlier in the cycle is now encountering friction designed to expose inefficiency, inconsistency, and uncommitted intent. The solar principle anchored in Taurus stabilizes the entire configuration. But this stability is not passive. It behaves like resistance. It forces material reality to respond slowly and deliberately, rejecting impulsive restructuring. Anything built without durability begins to show strain under this influence. The emphasis is on consolidation of value, not expansion of noise. Systems that prioritize simplicity, utility, and repeatable output outperform those dependent on rapid fluctuation or conceptual excess. The lunar progression through Leo intensifies psychological visibility. Emotional responses are less private and more performative, even when unintentional. This introduces a feedback loop where actions are immediately mirrored by social or environmental reaction. The result is a heightened awareness of consequence. There is no room for emotionally unaccounted behavior. Everything expressed returns as feedback that is difficult to ignore. This creates both creative ignition and ego exposure depending on internal coherence. Mercurial activity in Aries drives cognition into direct, unfiltered expression patterns. Thought becomes non-action. Thought becomes action adjacent. Decision latency reduces. This can produce efficiency, but also premature conclusions if not tempered by structural reasoning. The dominant cognitive risk is over identification with first interpretation. What is needed is not more thought, but more verification before articulation. Communication becomes sharper, but also more volatile if precision is neglected. Venus transitioning through early Gemini introduces dual channel valuation logic. Preference, preference systems are no longer singular or fixed, they're split into comparative evaluation structures. This affects relationships, financial decisions, and aesthetic judgment. The advantage is adaptability. The risk is inconsistency in prioritization. Desire becomes informational rather than purely emotional, which can dilute commitment unless anchored by a clear hierarchy of values. Mars in Aries reinforces acceleration across all initiating behaviors. This is pure directional force without inherent restraint. It favors initiation, confrontation of stagnation, and rapid problem engagement. However, it also increases the probability of reactive escalation. When combined with Aries Mercury, the environment becomes cognitively and physically fast reacting. Without deliberate pacing, this configuration produces burnout through intensity rather than duration. Jupiter in Cancer introduces a counterweight focused on emotional security expansion and protective structuring. Growth is not externalized aggressively, it is internalized through reinforcement of emotional or familial systems, psychological safety, and foundational support mechanisms. Opportunities arise through care structures, memory systems, or protective investments. Expansion here is selective and dependent on perceived safety rather than ambition. Saturn in Aries imposes strict accountability on initiation itself. This is a critical constraint. Starting is no longer enough. Starting must be sustainable, justified, and structurally defensible. Saturn's presence here penalizes impulsive activation without endurance planning. The combination of Mars and Saturn in the same sign creates a tension between speed and durability. One initiates, the other audits. Only actions that survive internal scrutiny persist. Uranian influence at the late Taurus threshold introduces destabilization of outdated material or systemic attachments. This is subtle but persistent disruption of rigid economic, value based, or resource based assumptions. The effect is not explosive, it is erosion based. Systems that are overly rigid begin to lose coherence at the edges. Adaptation is required through incremental redesign rather than abrupt overhaul. Neptunian positioning in early Aries introduces conceptual ambiguity into identity driven action. There is a tendency toward ideological acceleration without full clarity of outcome structure. This can produce inspired action that lacks operational grounding. The corrective mechanism is documentation and reality checking of intent before execution. Without this, actions may become symbolically driven rather than functionally effective. Pluto in Aquarius continues deep structural transformation in collective systems, particularly those involving networks, group intelligence, and technological or organizational frameworks. This is long cycle pressure toward decentralization and reconfiguration of control structures. Power is redistributed through systemic redesign rather than direct confrontation. What appears stable at surface levels is undergoing quiet structural replacement beneath. The first quarter lunar threshold acts as a forcing mechanism across all these influences. It removes tolerance for partial engagement. What is not progressive, what is not progressing becomes visibly obstructive. Emotional signals are amplified to highlight misalignment between intention and action. This is not a phase of comfort, it is a phase of correction. As the lunar illumination increases toward its waxing trajectory, feedback intensity rises proportionally. Emotional awareness becomes less introspective and more environmental. Individuals and systems alike are required to respond to external signals rather than internal narrative justification. This shift this shifts decision making from belief based to result based calibration. Across relational dynamics, clarity becomes the primary currency. Ambiguity is no longer neutral, it is destabilizing. Communication that lacks precision generates immediate friction. Conversely, direct articulation of needs, boundaries, and expectations produces rapid stabilization. The environment rewards explicitness over interpretive flexibility. In operational terms, productivity is highest when actions are reduced to singular objectives executed with minimal deviation. Multitasking introduces fragmentation that this configuration does not support efficiently. The system favors linear execution chains: define, initiate, verify, complete. Any deviation from this sequence increases correction pressure later in the cycle. Financial and material considerations remain conservative in structure. Expansion is viable only where foundational security has been previously established. Risk is not eliminated, but it is strictly filtered through durability assessment. Short term gain without structural reinforcement is unstable under current conditions. By the end of this cycle window, the dominant outcome pattern is clarification through pressure. Systems that remain intact after iterative stress testing will show increased coherence and efficiency. Those that fail to adapt will fragment into identifiable weak points, making restructuring unavoidable. The overarching directive is structural honesty under acceleration. Every domain, cognitive, emotional, relational, and material, is being required to demonstrate operational integrity under increasing pressure. So that's what I had for you today, collective. I hope you enjoyed it. I surely made it for you to enjoy. And if you did, please like this video, or comment this video, or share this video, or subscribe to our channel so you get first dibs on future uploads. And of course, that would help me grow the Supreme channel of ours in case you wanted to help me do that. Um, And check out the offer in the description box. It could be useful in case you like astrology and personal charts. And also check out my other videos because they are all I make them all to be quite insightful. They're all sign ones, sign specific ones, longs and shorts, um, divination ones, and astrology ones, and whatever else you want to see. So please do let me know about it. Um, and I feel like I should tell you about the services of magical services because though this was a reading for the general collective, and though it does indeed apply to the general collective, personal readings are more personal, as the name suggests. They, they're like your fingerprint reading when it comes to readings. They'll tell you exactly how the astral bodies align for you personally, you, and only you personally, in regards to situations. So you can be more tactical and strategic. For instance, I offer natal charts. I offer all kinds of astrology charts for useful for all aspects of life. So natal charts can be done to see why you are the way you are, to understand and to understand the placements in your chart. Um, because it's all your placements that make up the whole of you, so they're all relevant, in fact. Me personally, I think I lived the first 40 years of my life understanding that I was, in fact, just just feeling like I was just a Taurus for the first more than the first 40 years of my life, thinking that I was just a Taurus. But in fact, I'm more of a Leo than a Taurus. Like it's kind of intricate. The Taurus influence is there, and it is my sun sign, but I'm more of a Leo than a Taurus, and I could even be called a Scorpio in some other instances. I could be called I got my Neptune is in Sagittarius too, so I got Sagittarius influences too, you know, Libra influences, Gemini influences. So it's the whole of them that make up the whole of you. So they're all important. But anyhow, beyond that, synastry charts could also be done to see the energy between you and someone else, to see how you impact one another, to see if you're compatible or not, and or just how to be more strategic and tactical in your approach to that relationship as to make it endure, for instance. And synastry charts are usually, or I feel like they're better than any love reading that you could get done by the best tarot reader in the world, because other forms of divination can get emotional about things, and they can work on emotion and highlight emotions, and actually not not deviate you from getting too emotional about things. However, astrology shows the energy um, structure at the core, at the very bone. So it's deeper and it's more solid and more immutable as a science. And then we also got composite readings, which can be done to see the actual energy of a relationship created between you and someone else, as if you're an entity of its own. Once again, so you can be more tactical and strategic in your approach to that relationship, um, and so on, and as to get the best outcome out of it. Um, or suppose you had a very special date or a very special event or a very special appointment, one that you set or one that someone else set, in past, present, and in the future, in fact, and you wanted to understand how the astral bodies will align for you personally in regards to that event, a chart could be done for that. So you can once again be more tactical and strategic in your approach to that event as to get the most out of it. For instance, is it even a good idea to go? Or when's the best time for the event? Um, and, tactical and strategic questions of the like. And also, having been initiated into magic since the age of 10 in West Africa, I have more than 3 decades of magical practice behind me, so I have various spells in regards to various aspects of life, if not all aspects of life. Should you feel like you need a magical boost in your life, please do let me know about it, and we'll see how we can make that happen. My email is in the About section below, or you could friend me on my Facebook channel, which has the same name as this one, Magical Services, and then we can share direct messages if that is more your style. Now, with all that said, I thank you so much for your time, collective. Thank you for being here, and until the next time, blessings.